And I kind of want to go gloves off right now because some of this stuff is completely ridiculous that people don't understand how global warming predictions have been made for the past 50 years. I want everyone right now to type into Google or whatever search engine you use and or even into your GPT and just type in how do scientists predict global warming? Okay, and just take a look. And right here, you'll see that how do we predict climate change? Okay, to explore and predict how climate change will change, researchers create computer models of the real world. Okay, so it's a computer simulation model. Okay, so a bunch of scientists and engineers put together a computer simulation model with a bunch of data, and the computer spits out the predictions. It's a damn computer simulation, Dave. When it says model or models, that means computer simulation. Okay, and this is very important to understand because it doesn't mean that the model is correct or even true because it can only work within the information that's fed into it. And once you understand that, the entire global warming narrative has been based upon computer simulation models, things start to make sense. Go to any website about global warming. Go to NASA's website. It'll tell you the exact same thing, that global warming is based off of computer simulation models. And you can even take this a step further into COVID or into cancer predictions. Okay, type this into Google right now. Actually, let's just do this ourselves here. Hold on, let me get this off of the screen. Okay, let's type into Google, how do we predict the rate of cancer increasing in the coming years? Okay. Scientists predict increasing cancer rates by analyzing demographic shifts, aging and growing population, lifestyle factors, obesity, diet, and smoking and cancer registries. Models project a 77% increase in new cases by 2050. This is the key term right here, models. Models mean a computer simulation, okay? And once you understand that all of this stuff is done through computer simulations, okay, you can, and how scientists predict anything is all through computer simulation. Here, let's do one even better here. Let's go to Pfizer's website. Mathematical sandbox, how quantitative systems pharmacology steers safer and faster drug development. Okay, so then if you scroll down here, predicting patient outcomes from the onset. Quantitative systems pharmacology is a high-tech branch of biomedical research that aids drug development from discovery through clinical trials and beyond. In this field, scientists build mathematical models to simulate interactions among medications and their targets. Okay, it's a computer simulation model. This is how Pfizer tests its medications, is computer simulation models. And it pisses me off that people don't understand this. I know you remember Event 201 tabletop exercise, Dave, that was done by the Gates Foundation a few months before COVID hit in 2020 to simulate how the public would react to a global pandemic. That was also a computer simulation model. And that one was just the tip of the iceberg. This is how every company, organization, government, and scientists get their information, is through computer simulation models. Okay, my rant's over.
Well, I'm just wondering with the model and Event 201, how closely it replicated the outcome of how people behaved on the planet during that time, or, like, at the end of the model run, they had to have known that there would have been a pushback effect where people would have seen through the illusion, said, hey, enough's enough. You just guys are asking too much. Now there's never going back to normal. You're just disrupting the lives, like to the Uber now. It's just like, this isn't going to work anymore. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, that had to have been built in the model too. I'm wondering how closely it ran with that until the disruptive phase where they knew they had to turn it off because it would generate too much social unrest of people pushing back against their policies that they just said, okay, it's over. Everybody go back to normal again. We're all good. Bye. Thanks for the data.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable that this is the way that everything is ran. And you can do this with anything, type anything into Google and how scientists predict whatever. This is how they do it. It's computer
Isn't there a
simulation.
song? This is how we do it. Back in the day, look at it again. This is how scientists do it.
I had to get that off my chest. I've been holding on to that one for a long time, Dave.
Yeah, me too. I've been wanting to dance for a long time. I'm glad I could, let a little loose here on the show. Hey, there's another virus that's coming out of India that now they're starting to clamp down in airports across Thailand and Laos and Malaysia as of today, and Singapore. If you haven't read the news, I forget the name of it. Came out of India. Some kind of animal jumped into a human or whatever. Now they're starting to not lock the airports like they did before, but they're setting up all these screeners and all these kinds of crazy things like they did in the beginning of COVID. It's starting again, but it's in Southeast Asia as of today. So the airports are being frightened and paralyzed. Expect delays because you're going to have to go through extra health screening. I kid you not, it's begun again. I forget the name of it. It specifically started in India this time.
Well, there seems like there's a new one every couple of months around flu season. Whenever winter hits, there's something new. I mean, how many variations of COVID did we have? We had like 5 or 6 different variations that all happened back to back to back to back. There was the Delta, the Beta, Theta, like what?
And how easily were people led? See that fear factor too. Again, if you're looking into long-term climate variability and you understand that crops are going to be lost up to 20-30% lower yields globally than we have now, it becomes simple math. Like how much do we have in the warehouses and silos and barges and grain storage along like riverbanks and whatever? And how much are we going to produce every year? And then there's that, okay, we're going to produce this. Oh, that's 10% less than we did. Okay, we got to dig into 10% of the carryover stocks or 10% of the like the warehouse stocks. Okay, well, how much of that do we have left? Because I have been following this since like about 2012. And I remember that when the World Grain Assessment from the USDA would come out, we were around 750 million tons of grain. Now we sit at around 250 million tons of storable grain or carryover stocks. Do the simple math on that. That was, a little over 12 years ago, 13 years ago. So if we're at that rate and the declining crop yields are really starting to kick in now, you might be told in the American news, oh, we got lots of grain. Oh, yeah, we do, because a lot of people stopped importing from America. So we're sitting on piles of it here. But outside of the rest of the world, and it's not like that. Prices are higher. There's disruptions outside of where we sit. Why do you think China's scrambling so much to go get grain anywhere and everywhere they can? Well, they understood through history that these 400-year lows in solar activity disrupt tremendously their production of grains. That's why the dynasties collapsed. So now they're in the modern era where they can go buy it, get it, trade it, do whatever they, give the loans out, do whatever. Give us the grains. But it's tight out in the rest of the world. It's surplus here because nobody wants our grains because of this tit for tat trade thing. So it might appear as if in America we got a lot of extra, but are we going to be able to hold that and keep it for 20 years in a silo if nobody wants to buy it? Nope. Carryover stocks are only good for a couple of years past. And then once they get past that, they get downgraded into like animal feed, that sort of thing. Generally, human consumed grains are in the same year or the following year. So if we're continuing declining in yields, and then the big bread baskets of worlds like Ukraine, that took 30 million tons of actual real production offline. So Africans were scrambling for where they're going to import grains from because their predominant export market from Ukraine was down to Africa. So now Africa is like out on the world market. So there's a 30 million ton minus from the 250 million tons we already had. Plus the declines are coming in. We got all the, trade embargoes with all the fertilizers, the herbicides, pesticides that are not manufactured in America. And you start to look around, the imbalance is occurring currently. If you were modeling this out, you would scratch your head and say, I wonder when we really need to wait to tell people. Because I was super clean after doing the research and speaking with all those experts that were like 100x above me, understanding all of this for those years on end, doing endless interviews and reading, doing like you do, like 10,000 hours of research to understand what this thing is and how it is going to affect us here. Came to the conclusion that, well, maybe you wouldn't want to tell everybody because they're going to panic in advance. But at some point, we're going to come to that rollover period. And I kept saying, okay, just on like a 50,000 foot view napkin math, prices are going to go double and then they're going to go triple. And at some point, they're going to get into the runaway where you're spending a huge amount of money on food and basics, and it's going to disrupt the economy. And that in itself will disrupt happiness or harmoniousness, how they termed it in China. And that would set off a whole, chain of events. And, you get the political, you get the population migration and the economy heading into, greatly inflated prices. And I was saying, you're going to look for a 2 to 3x increase in food prices. And sure enough, we sit here today. I would challenge anybody to I'd go back to 2013, 2014, and look at what your grocery bill was compared to today. This is going to continue into the future the same. It's not going to pull back to like 2013 prices again. We're just going to continue to go up and up and up. And the more the dollar devalues and the higher the price of all the precious metals go and all the commodities, copper, zinc, whatever, you never name anything, it's going up. And the food prices, I really believe this is the last year they can control the food prices, because if the COMEX can't control the silver price and they're not going to be able to control the gold price anymore, which is the entire base of the monetary system globally, they were not going to be able to suppress it on paper anymore. Do you think they're going to be able to suppress the price of, say, corn and soy on an international market? I'm going to say no way.